Yesterday on the program, we thought we'd have a go and do our very own pop-up storytelling. It was all a bit of a, let's give it a try and see if it actually works. So the concept was based on the idea of the old pop-up piano, where the piano gets rolled out into the community and anyone can sit down and play. So I jumped in the car, I drove to Paynesville and opened up and said, let people know this is where I am. I've got my microphone, come on down and tell me a story. And you did. And here's one of those stories from yesterday.
My name's Rob Cook. I'm from the Paynesville Maritime Museum.
Can you tell me a little bit about the Maritime Museum?
Yeah, sure. Paynesville's a very unique place. It evolved from a fishing village and a protected harbour that steamers used to come to move tourists around and also to shift the fish to the Melbourne markets. What we're trying to do at the Maritime Museum, in the small space we've got available, is to record the history of all of that and establish a heritage so that future generations will understand exactly what Paynesville derived from.
And how did you get interested in the Maritime Museum in the first place?
I guess I've always been involved with boats throughout my life. I first came to Paynesville in 1962 and on and off since then. And maritime is maritime. And when I saw an opportunity, I joined and became enthused.
What's the most interesting history you've come across since you started working at the Maritime Museum or volunteering?
Well, we've been really lucky. The locals have taken us to heart and are giving us the stories of their grandparents, and a number of other items are coming down. In fact, it's almost becoming a little bit of a competition between some of them to clean out their sheds and bring it to the Maritime Museum.
Really?
We've been open 6 months and we've had 1,000 visitors through already. So our normal throughput's about 150 in that morning, and we're also now putting on a coffee for the oldies.
Oh, isn't that wonderful?
So they can come down and talk to each other and relive the days of the past. So we're really pleased. And we're getting information out of that to help us with our research, because the other side of it is to dig and dig and dig and find all these pieces of history, which we're helped no end by the modern electronics through Trove. We can now go and get it. So we're looking at places as far away as Mossy Face, where there used to be a wharf that the steamers went all the way up to the Tambo, Lake Wellington near Sale, and around this district as well, where they're actually building steamships of, quick calculation here, 30 metres long.
Gee, really? That's the rich kind of history we have, maritime history.
It is. It's really remarkable for little Paynesville to have that. And here we are on the end of a peninsula, and it's developed from there.
And that's Rob Cook. And so, of course, after Rob told me a little bit about the Maritime Museum, I had to go and check it out and see for myself. And Rob gave me a little tour of the museum.
Welcome, Sian. We're glad to have you here today. This is more like the TARDIS, I would think. When you move inside, it expands. On the outside, it looks quite small.
Oh, it's beautiful, and we're basically in the front garage door or the door to the museum, and everything is so beautifully placed on the walls. There's, as I can see just off the top of my head, there's fishing nets, there's small boats, lots of different stuff. Where does all this come from?
It's all been contributed by people of the district. Some of them we've had to bend an arm or two, but most of them have been very generous and provided it. Down here on the floor, we've got the mooring cleat off the steamer JCD, which was on the bottom of the lake, and when they heard that we were opening, and one of the skin divers that had found it rang up and said, "Hey, would you like this bollard?" That's the sort of response we've been getting.
Oh, it's fantastic. Would you like to take me for a walk through the museum?
Sure. As we move into the museum, we're looking at first off the history of the steamers, starting from about 1850 something through until 1935, when the last of them was laid up and left to rot on the beach. But they went up all the rivers and all over the lakes. Before the trains, they were the means of transportation. Once the trains came, the steamers moved over to being tourist boats, that the tourists could come down on the train and then spend their time on the lakes. So as we move along here, you can see there's a picture of the JCD laying in Rotten Row about 1960, before she was pulled out. Down on the table is actually a model of the JCD made by some local people. And we're very fortunate to have the actual steering wheel off the JCD against the wall. As we move along, we're going through the steamer section here, and a bit of a video to keep people interested in what's going on, to show us some of the pictures. Then we find the area that's devoted to the fishing boats, which are known colloquially as lakes fishing boats, about 23 feet long and built by a variety of builders, catching bream, mullet and tailor. Down the back,
What have we got here?
that's a toolbox. It belonged to Andrew Sutherland, who sailed as a carpenter on sailing ships around the world 3 times and eventually settled in Lakes Entrance, where he built boats for many years, and his son was the harbour master in Lakes. Unfortunately, they're not his tools, but they are typical tools of the time.
And what else have we got on the back bench here? There's lots of tools, and it looks like it could be, well, basically maybe a gentleman or a lady's dream shed tool supply.
Well, actually, you've gone one too far. You've gone past the piece de resistance, which is the actual bench itself. The bench has been lovingly reconstructed by our local men's shed, who have been really, really helpful to us, using the top or material in the top from an old boat builder's bench that we rescued from a shed that was due for demolition, and it stands on those typical Paynesville legs from a tree. You go into all the old sheds around the town and you'll find that they've been built out of these straight, round lengths of tree. On top of the bench we've got all the sort of tools that you'd want to see, and set up behind it are a range of other tools to see. The big saws on the right you see with the teeth are for ripping down the main keel sections of a boat. You can just imagine some poor boat builder standing up there sweating away with those great big teeth. For those that obviously can't see them, the teeth are about 25 millimetres deep and about 15 millimetres wide, and the saw would be 1.5 metres in length. And whilst we're here, there's a board associated with the Raymond Island Ferry. Most people will know Paynesville for the ferry, which has been in operation since 1887 and is currently going through its 150th anniversary. I think that's right. My mathematics is not all that bright. So we're paying tribute to it there, including a neat little picture from the State Library of Victoria. Back in 1920s they were doing watercolours of the ferry.
You've done a fantastic job here. What's your favourite piece in the museum?
I think the favourite piece has to be the fish basket, because it's so old, and if you like to walk around here it looks just like Grandma's washing basket.
Oh, it does too, but it's a bit longer.
In fact, when we eventually showed the photographs to the old people around here, they said, "Oh, Grandma had one of those." But and I guess that's why they still exist, because some grandmas did keep them. They had a cane wickerwork lid that went on top of them, and to keep the fish reasonably fresh, because they didn't have ice, they used bracken fern cut from over on Raymond Island. The fishing net which came up in that box there, the box replaced the baskets, is exactly as it came out of a fishing boat in about 1956. You can see his hurricane lamp and the net all ready to go.
Do you have any plans to make the museum bigger?
We would like to expand. We've just recently expanded into this small piece we're in here now, but it will be a matter of finding a place. We open only once a month and we get about 200 people through a time. So we're meeting our point with the community there. If we move away from this location on Gippsland and Reserve, then we lose the ability to contact with those people. And a lot of the people come back again and again. So it's going to be a very careful judgment. If the Shire councillors could see their way clear to giving us another one of these sheds, then I'm sure that we could expand into it and provide a real community service. But that's for the future. We've only been open 6 months and we have to catch up with where we're going and put ourselves on a sound footing for the future. It's no good being just a flash in the pan. Anybody feel free to come and see us on the second Sunday of the month when the market's on. Drop the lady off at the market and come over and visit the museum.